Yeah, the topic we have today is the home that shapes a destiny. Now, it's so important to create that environment in the home where instead of parents thinking about what should I teach my child, I could begin to ask what environment, what atmosphere is surrounding my child. Because great people are not created by the plants. They're created by the atmospheres. If you begin to read autobiographies of great people, you will see that most of them were surrounded by thinkers, philosophers, doers, activists. Um, the environment, the atmosphere the children were exposed to was very, very different. I have a cousin who is very active RSS person, but it's not about the organization, but the kind of people who visit his home, the kind of people where he takes his family to, the kind of conversations they have, is all going to influence the child. You know, I got inspired by this story of S. Chandrasekhar. He was the Nobel laureate. He was the nephew of Sir C.V. Raman in physics, in astronomy actually. Because the story goes that his father would always take him up on the terrace every night. It was a ritual for the father's son to go up on the terrace and watch the sky. And that became a fascination for him. That was the atmosphere the father created, along with being disciplined, along with reading, writing, whatever else. The child was homeschooled or taught by his father until age 12 or so. But then this was the ritual. And one day the father says, we need to stay up until 5 a.m. today because the planet Mercury is going to be visible then. Mercury is closest to the sun and appears right in the horizon around just before sunrise or just after sunset. And that particular day, they were going to be up until 5 a.m. And the child had lots of time with his father, and he kept questioning him. Father became his first curriculum, and they kept wondering, they kept talking, all the different kinds of stories associated with stars and the names that each of the planets carry or whatever. Everything came up. The child was more curious because there was this built up curiosity about the skies. And finally, the father also could not answer all the questions. So he directed him to some of the textbooks, ancient textbooks. And the child became very, very curious to study that book, and he started looking up as to how stars move, how do planets travel, all sorts of literature he started reading. And he eventually went to, I think, UK, and he proposed his first groundbreaking discovery. Uh, and his guide did not approve of him. He mocked him. But Chandrasekharan was persistent, had belief in his derivations of theory, whatever. And eventually, like almost like 50 years later, he got Nobel Prize for the same discovery he made when he was 19 years old. But we are not looking at creating Nobel laureates or whatever. But I'm also not sealing my child's destiny to becoming this particular person by having a plan, by having a framework. No, it's creating that atmosphere where I go with my child and look up at the stars, watch the birds, watch the insects, watch the nature, study people. Studying people, I might become a healer. I mean, Indira Gandhi was said to be around all the great leaders along with her father when there were all these meetings happening before independence, and she got into politics. And you will see this happening. And I used to wonder about it. One of my mentors, he always shared lots of stories about how he was with great writers, great minds of his time. And I wondered how he got that opportunity to be around great people. Many of these great, well-known, maybe you all have not heard about it, but in Karnataka, it's Masti Venkatesh Iyengar. They got Jnanapitha Awards. D.V. Gundappa, Vishweshwaraya, him you would have heard. All these people were somebody he met, somebody he talked to in person. Dr. Bendre, great poet, right? It's the atmosphere that influenced him to become whoever he has become today, right? So a children learns by the environment I create, where questioning is okay, wondering is okay, nature is worth observing, and knowledge is a journey. It is not like one textbook I finished, I'm done with my syllabus. Similar thing happened with Albert Einstein. His father gave him a compass. And there was this needle that was pivoted in the center, and it was like floating, like rigorously sometimes. And he didn't know that it was aligning to north-south direction. He didn't know it was even a magnet, but he started wondering. That created the curiosity. Somehow, how is this needle mysteriously moving? There is no force, nobody blowing at it, nobody shaking it, but it's just mysterious, invisible force. What is it? That created the curiosity. Same thing with Newton, right? The apple fall many, many times, apples would have fallen from the trees, and many of us would have observed it. But somewhere he observed it keenly enough to question it. Now, can I become that parent? Can I create that environment in my house where I bring this questioning as part of my normal day to day discussions? Nothing big. How do I put these tea leaves in the water, and the minute it begins to boil, the water changes its color? What's happening? How does the rice cook? How does the soap powder remove the stain from my shirt? I don't need to answer. Like how Chandrasekharan's father, he couldn't answer Chandrasekharan's questions. Then he handed him a book. Okay, take this, you'll get answers in it. I mean, these days we can go to ChatGPT and get answers much, much, much faster. But then I also need to build that ability to sit and ponder and think and of all the associated things. Because the environment I create will be transformative in nature. It is not about read, get some knowledge, forget it. But it's get some knowledge, apply it, look at it, wonder about it. Wonder is what Steiner also said. That culture of wonder, culture of awe is what I need to develop in my children. This is different. I mean, today's homes, we are filled with information. You go on the road, you turn on the GPS. It's all so much outsourced, ready-made information that comes to me. And I wonder even how the GPS works. It is not just an app on the phone. How does that know where I am? How does it know that it has to reroute? Now you start talking about a satellite that is getting. I mean, I'm gonna if I don't have the data turned on, GPS doesn't work. So somewhere it is connected to some connectivity externally. I was surprised when I saw this car um, going around in the neighborhoods, mapping the streets and construction sites, whatever. And I said, oh, this is how they feed the data for the GPS to give you accurate direction, even about the road closures, take alternate routes, etc. And we blindly follow it, no problem. Many of us, that's good enough. But do I want the same for my children at home, who I have some influence over? So I need to begin that observation. I need to get into the deeper conversations. I need to be curious. No rush. Maybe the schools, we do curriculums for schools, and schools do take it up, and we have like outdoor slot, and teachers take children outside. Okay, we have 30 minutes now, so you have to observe, you have to go pick the leaves or twigs or do something, and then okay, let's go back into the class. It's a hurried because I'm limited by that 30 minutes. So a child might have just started observing a bunch of ants. Now he's not given that opportunity to sit and be curious and wonder about it for the whole day. But I, as a parent at home, definitely have it. We could just go for these shared experiences like Chandrasekharan and his father did it. Right? Just because he observed so much, he became an astronomer. Similarly, somebody can become a biologist, somebody can become a writer. It's not that parents have to choose a question for the child to ponder with, but it is allowing child to question and protect their questioning, not hushing them up. Especially if you have a visitor at home, an adult, and the child is pestering you with questions, the other adult may also say, how many questions does he ask? Don't you get tired of it? That is also an atmosphere where the child may say, maybe questioning is bad. Right? So wonder about every small thing. I know it seems little inundating, but it's a beautiful journey that we can have with children. Wonder together, pause together, watch the moon, watch the bird building the nest. Watch these birds fluttering. I have this little balcony where these small little birds come, and they're not sparrows, and I don't know. I have not tried to find out which birds they are, but they're so beautiful. They're so tiny legs, but once they start fluttering their feathers, they're so fast, and I keep wondering how. And now I'm distracted as an adult, right? I wonder about it for a second, then I have to go make tea, I have to make breakfast, I have a phone call to attend, I drop it. But children are not like that. They can be with that bird fluttering for the entire morning. They may even start having grains for the birds to come back again and again. They may find out about what attracts these birds, keep a bowl of water, whatever. Right? So great thinking begins with attentive seeing. I mean, that's a big quality that I need to develop, attentive seeing. Holding conversations, one of the most beautiful, my favorite tool to connect with the child, especially when the child is in their second stage, beginning about 7, 8 years of age. Have this conversation about your own life experiences, about all the people you have met, heard. Make an effort to take your children to great people visiting, right? It's little difficult, but we have to seek them out. We have to talk to people. There are opportunities where some great people come and visit. There used to be, this was about 15 years ago when Aam Aadmi Party was coming up, Anna Hazare and Kejriwal were doing some kind of a fasting, and we had heard about it. We had also fasted for whatever reason, I don't recall now. But then we went to Pune, and Anna Hazare was living in one of his ashrams there. So we visited his place, and we were just waiting in this big lobby area for Anna Hazare to come out. He was in a meeting in his house. We waited for 3, 4 hours just waiting, and he came out with like, oh yeah, I see him there. It was an excitement for my children. I don't know, knowing all the political developments that are happening now, we will be equally interested. But it's that effort, it's that process. Those times we're just eagerly waiting, talking about different things. That's a lived experience because we want to experience the living examples. Many people tell us, right? We can get gyan from books and read and videos and whatnot, but ultimately it has to be a living guru. I need to see a person living those values. How do they maneuver? It's not all easy. It's not all that beautiful like we see in videos. The videos are curated. They're made faster for consumption. But living everyday life is not easy, right? So we need to bring those living examples. So I cannot predict the future for sure, but I can definitely create that atmosphere that my child can breathe in today because they grow in these moods that we carry, in these conversations we have with the children, in these habits that we develop, like Chandrasekharan's father, a habit to watch the night sky every single day, rain or shine. Children go inside these values that we create. This is the invisible culture of the home that shapes the destiny of the child. Can we all do it? To the best we can. And where we can't, take them to people who can do it for them. That will be a fun journey. Thank you.